Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good at your end. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, I'm just want to let you know, give you a bit of an update. I've recorded Haney and Cambosa's video, which will be up on Tuesday or Wednesday, but I've recorded it. So yeah, I'll just let you know that's going to be up tomorrow, because I know you guys have been requesting for me to do a video about it. That will be uploaded tomorrow around 5 o'clock. So yeah, I thought I'd give you that update. But S.J. Smith has put out some interesting news. He says that Crawford and Spence is a done deal. And he said some S.J. Smith, if you guys don't know, he used to be a Mayweather fighter. I believe S.J. Smith, if it's the same S.J. Smith, did he fight David Benavidez, or was that Julian Love? I'm not so sure. But S.J. Smith, you probably know about him in the Mayweather. He was in the Mayweather circle and in the Mayweather gym, I believe. I'm not sure if he was still on good terms with Mayweather. I'm not so sure. But S.J. Smith, yeah, he was. I think he was. You would have seen him in the Mayweather videos and stuff in the Mayweather gym. I think he was around there. But that aside, he basically said that he's heard from a reliable source that Crawford and Spence is a done deal, and they're looking at September. But because Canelo and Golovkin is made for September, they're having a few issues. And he basically said Canelo needs to jump from that date. Canelo needs to move from that date, which obviously is going to be very controversial. And he said a few things. He basically said that the Spence-Crawford fight is a bigger fight than Canelo v. Golovkin. And that's why Canelo should move from that date. Canelo fights in September every year. That's the date he usually fights on. Although last year he didn't, if I'm not mistaken. Did he fight last year? I don't think he did, because last year, you know, his fight was supposed to be for September, but the Plant fight never went through. And then he ended up fighting in November. So last year was a date that he didn't. But normally throughout the years, he's been fighting in September. So there's no way he's going to move from his date, especially the fact that he's the face of boxing. But what S.J. Smith is saying, that Spence and Crawford is a bigger fight than Canelo Golovkin, so he should move. Firstly, I don't think Crawford Spence is a bigger fight. I think it's a bigger fight in terms of what it means for boxing and the fact that we as hardcore boxing fans want that fight. Would I rather see Canelo Golovkin 3, or would I rather see Crawford Spence? The answer is Crawford Spence. It's a much better fight. Two young guys. Canelo's young, but Golovkin's old. And also Crawford Spence is a 50-50 fight. Two undefeated guys, never lost before. It's against two of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And it's a fight that we've been wanting to see for almost 3 or 4 years now. And for me right now, as a hardcore boxing fan, I think most hardcore boxing fans would say the same, that Crawford and Spence is a more intriguing fight, and a fight that we rather would see than Canelo Golovkin. But in terms of commercially and what's going to do bigger numbers, for me, Canelo Golovkin is a bigger fight. So I don't think anyone's going to be afraid going up. Now, obviously, no one's going to want to go up against Crawford and Spence because it's a big fight, because it'll have an effect on Golovkin, Canelo. But the point I'm making is Golovkin and Canelo is still a bigger fight financially and from a commercial aspect. Crawford and Spence to the hardcores is a bigger fight, yes, but to the common man it's not, because neither of those guys are crossed over or household names. So it's not a bigger fight in my opinion. Canelo Golovkin is a much bigger draw, a much bigger fight, and a lot more people are going to watch that. So I don't agree with S.J. Smith there in terms of as a hardcore boxing fan, yeah, I would prefer to see Crawford Spence, but it's not a bigger fight in my opinion. It's a better fight, yeah. It's not a bigger fight financially. It depends on what you say a bigger fight. Is it a bigger fight in terms of what people, hardcore boxing fans, want to see? Yeah, but it's not a bigger fight to the casuals, and I think that's what makes up majority of the buys are, you know, the big buys are, a lot of them are from casuals. You know, so in my opinion, I don't think Canelo's going to be moving from his date. So I think Crawford and Spence are going to be the ones that are going to have to, if they've done a done deal, they're going to have to fight in another month, which they probably can do. They probably could fight in December, maybe in November, October. But I don't think Canelo's moving from September. And Canelo's fight, most importantly, Canelo's fight's already been signed and sealed. Canelo's already announced his fight. Canelo's already saying he's fighting September 17th. So why should he move when his fight's already been done? Crawford and Spence hasn't been done, or it's not been. If it has been done, it's not. They haven't set a date yet. So why should Canelo move when he's already got a date and he's already confirmed his fight that he's going to be fighting with Triple G, and we knew that. It was only whether it's the fact that he lost to Bivol, hence why he had to decide whether he was going to do the rematch with Bivol or he's going to fight Golovkin again. Oh, sorry, he's going to rematch Bivol or fight Golovkin. So then he had a decision to make because he lost. But he decided to go with Golovkin, and he did it pretty swiftly. He didn't take much time thinking about it. He did it pretty quickly, and that's it. So why should he have to move? It's just ridiculous. Yes, for the good of boxing, I would rather see Spence and Crawford, and it's a fight that we do need. But at the end of the day, they can make that fight on another month. They don't have to go in September. Why is September? There's Canelo Alvarez went in November and did wicked numbers with Plant. So why can't Spence and Crawford go in November or go on another date? Canelo's fight shouldn't have any impact on when they do that fight. If they have done that fight, then they should do it on another month, because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure it's a good fight. Even if they do it in September, boxing fans will put their hands in their pockets for that particular fight because it's a great fight. So although 2 pay-per-views are not great, and that's almost like 120 quid if they do it in the same month. It could be something like $200 or 200, it could be something like $180 or 160, between $160 to $200 that they're paying. But boxing fans would probably, in US, would probably pay it because they're fights that, they've been craving for. Maybe people won't buy the Canelo Golovkin fight and save up for the Spence and Crawford. Like I said, I personally think that I think Spence and Crawford is such a big fight that I don't think it's going to have much of an impact. Canelo Golovkin isn't going to have much of an impact on sales because I think people are so intrigued to see that they'll buy it regardless. So I think at this particular point they just need to get that fight over the line and done. But yeah, if you're asking me, I don't think it's a bigger fight. I don't think it does bigger numbers. I think if Spence and Crawford happens, it doesn't do the numbers that Canelo Golovkin does. So it's not a bigger fight. If that's the case, then why would they even care about going up against it? Let's not forget Mayweather-McGregor, if I'm not mistaken, didn't that go up against Canelo Golovkin? Wasn't Canelo Golovkin like 2 weeks after or something? And Mayweather-McGregor still did huge numbers. And Canelo Golovkin still did pretty big numbers. But Floyd took the attention off that particular... I think the problem is, it's not that. I think the big thing is the promotion of the event. Because when Canelo Golovkin is happening, there's going to be a lot of promotion around that event. Is Spence and Crawford's shine going to be taken away by Canelo and Golovkin because of the promotion? And that's what happened with Canelo Golovkin. I think Canelo Golovkin probably got hit a little bit when they were fighting the second time. Was it the second time or the first time? I can't remember. But Mayweather basically went 2 weeks, I think intentionally did it 2 weeks before, and he kind of took the shine off that fight. And I think he did it intentionally, taking the shine off that fight. And that fight kind of went under the radar. So that could happen. The same could happen with Spence and Crawford. The only difference is I think Canelo and Golovkin announced their date before Mayweather-McGregor, and Mayweather went after them, and he kind of, in my opinion, took the shine off that, and that fight went under the radar. And I think the same would happen to Spence and Crawford because neither of them are household names. And I think the same happened with Canelo Golovkin, even though Canelo Golovkin were massive, but Mayweather and McGregor were far bigger than Canelo and Golovkin. So they didn't have the pull that those two had. Hence why that fight was a bigger fight. And Canelo Golovkin had to play second fiddle. And I do think that affected probably affected some sales. I think that Canelo Golovkin fight could have been bigger because remember that the promotion would be going on at the same time. And let's be honest, who are you rather going to be intrigued by, Canelo or Golovkin, or are you going to be intrigued by Mayweather-McGregor? Even though Mayweather-McGregor was a bit of a farce, we knew who was going to win. It was just the fact the two names and the hype and the promotion around it, they couldn't compete. Canelo Golovkin just couldn't compete because the promotion and the hype around Mayweather-McGregor was of such scale. And let's not forget, these are two household names with millions and millions of followers across social media. And at that point, Canelo, although he was big, he was nowhere near as big as Mayweather and McGregor. And also, Canelo's not a hype. He can't hype things like those two can. He's not a self-promoter like those two are. You know, Canelo kind of promotes himself. It just self-promotes because of the fan base he has. Those two guys are like promoters. They know how to promote fights. You know, and that's why they were on another level when it came to, you know, promotion and hyping up their events. So you can't really compare, you know. And the same with this. I just think although Canelo and Golovkin aren't really great self-promoters, they're just massive, you know, in boxing. And I don't think Spence and Crawford are at that level where they can compete, even though the hardcore boxing fans would love to see that fight. I just don't think it's that big. I don't think it's that big where it's going to be able to be able to compete with Canelo Golovkin. Hence why it probably doesn't make sense for them to go in the same month, because of the fact that their fight will be hurt by the promotion of Canelo and Golovkin. So maybe they need to look for a date where it suits, you know, it better suits them, maybe 2 months after. You know, but yeah, I think it probably wouldn't make sense for them to compete with Spence and Crawford. But yeah, I don't think Spence and Crawford's a bigger fight. I think it's a bigger fight to the you know, casual, to the casual. Golovkin and Crawford, Golovkin and Canelo is a much bigger fight. But Crawford and Spence, to the hardcore boxing fan, I think, yeah, it's obviously, it's a fight we would rather see, because it's a fight which is like two guys in their prime, right? Undefeated, clash of styles, and we generally don't know who's going to win. You know, it's a proper 50-50, whereas you'd say with Canelo and Golovkin, we kind of got a rough idea who's going to win that fight. And there's kind of a firm favorite in Canelo. You know, although the first two fights were great, we kind of know that Golovkin's gone older since then, and the fight now favors Canelo. So you've kind of got an inkling to who's going to win, whereas with Spence and Crawford, it's literally like you're shooting a dart in the dark. You don't know. You know, people have their opinions, but no one can be sure. I know some people say, oh, Spence is going to win, and some people are going to say, no, Crawford's going to win, but nobody really knows deep down what's going to happen in that fight. No one really knows. Deep down, it's a proper 50-50. It's a proper 50-50. You know, I view this fight as how I would have viewed Amir Khan v. Kell Brook if they had fought in their primes. I view this as a similar, like obviously not on the kind of level, but in terms of our British version of it, I think it would have been like that. I think it would have been a proper 50-50, which with there not being a firm favourite on who's going to win. You know, it's just a proper 50-50. I don't think anyone could have been certain if it happened around 2015-16. I don't think there was a firm, clear favourite. Prior to the Khan fighting Canelo and Brook fighting Golovkin, I think there genuinely was a 50-50 fight. Nobody genuinely knew. There would have been fans of each fighter saying, oh, he's going to win and he's going to win, but it would have been a proper 50-50. And there wasn't a firm favourite. I think the bookies at the time had Khan a favourite, just because of the experience that he had. But that could have been underestimating Brook, because of the fact that Brook hadn't really operated at the level that Khan had mixed with. So we didn't really know how good Brook was. You know, but I actually genuinely saw that as a 50-50 fight. The problem is that we never got that fight at that time. This is a fight that we need right now. The Spence and Crawford fight is a fight that we need right now, and I think it's a genuine 50-50. It could go either way. So yeah, I think to the hardcore, Spence and Crawford's a bigger... So S.J. Smith is probably speaking from his opinion as a hardcore boxing fan. But from a casual point of view, I don't really think a lot of people know Spence and Crawford. Even in America, I don't think they're that big. You know, if you were to go on the street, and ask people, even here in the UK, who's Spence and Crawford, I don't think anyone know who they are. But I think Canelo and Golovkin would be a lot more famous and a lot more well-known. I even think Canelo and Golovkin would do big numbers in the UK. Not so big numbers like on pay-per-view, but I think a lot of people would get up for that. I'm not sure whether if Crawford and Spence was on pay-per-view, I don't think that would do any numbers. Only real hardcores like myself. Yeah, I don't think it'd do huge numbers, to be honest with you. And this is why I'm saying I think you can't really compete with Canelo and Golovkin. And that's why I don't think Crawford and Spence should. Even though I said it earlier in this video, I don't think Crawford and Spence should. I think they should probably go a month or two after that fight. just so the promotion of their fight isn't hurt by the promotion of Canelo and Golovkin, because that's what happened to Canelo Golovkin rematch, I believe, when Mayweather and McGregor, because Mayweather announced it 2 weeks before, and Mayweather knew that his fight was going to be so much bigger than Canelo's, because a lot more people are going to tune in, because Mayweather and McGregor have a much more casual audience. They're huge names in the combat world, and that's why that fight was always going to be bigger, and I think numbers-wise it was massive. But yeah, leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about Mayweather. Sorry, not Mayweather, but Canelo Golovkin and Spence Crawford. Which one do you think is a bigger fight? Leave your thoughts. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.